Hey everybody, this is Lynn from A Bit of Birdsong, and I am here to share a springtime May journal. May is my mother's favorite month. I think it's my favorite month. May is beautiful here. Seems like the pollen has almost stopped and the flowers are coming out after a lot of rain and cold weather that keeps coming back on us even after we think it's warm. But I wanted to show you this one signature journal, and I think it's just beautiful. It's going into the shop tonight. It's tied with a really, really pretty piece of very satiny pink ribbon with then some deep pink velvet ribbon on top. And there's one silver cord tied through the journal that's got this old skeleton key. And I think about a huge gate, like maybe an iron, wrought iron gate with this massive door that opens, and a lock, of course, that requires this kind of key. This key's got a little bit of paint on it that makes it really special. I can just imagine what this key has been through. On the front, you can see that I've stamped the garden, and there's my sweet little bird that I like to put on everything. Not everything, but a lot of things. And this sweet little face is making an appearance again. I'm just in love with her right now. That is the prettiest little blanket or shawl. I love the colors in the background. I love the curls. She really reminds me of my daughter, my only daughter. I had 4 children and the baby was a girl, so after 3 sons, I got my little princess. And I love my boys too. I would have been happy with just boys, but I'm so glad that I got my little girl. There's a sample card in here with some pretty pink fabric and tells a little bit about it on the back. Not that that really matters, but I decided to leave it like it is. It's just kind of a neat little thing. You can see this dyed lace I've put on the front pocket. There's some vintage rickrack and just some bright pink lace. I love this page. It looks like maybe a model for acupuncture. And there's a big jar. You can actually see the plants inside the jar when it shows on the other side of the page. And it looks like maybe, I don't know if it's ginseng or something because it has the roots, and it just looked really neat. I wanted this journal to be full of pinks and greens. I was kind of inspired by this fabric behind the journal, and inspired, of course, by just the month of May. And also, there's the song, well, I love an artist named Jolie Holland. I would love to be able to see her in person someday. But she's got a song called Springtime Can Kill You. I love that song. I love her music. And I was just thinking about maybe the more passionate side of May. I think it drives people crazy. Everybody's ready to get outside. And so here is some trim that is kind of flipped over the page. This came out of a gift that I received from my friend Betty in the mail, and it's perfect. It's got these little sparkles on it. It ties right in with this whole theme that I'm trying to portray. Here's a really old graphic of a plant. Again, it's got the pink and the green. I love garden statuary, and that's just a sweet little garden statue. This page is one that I tea stained and then dyed with some ink, and you've got a little tab. Something that I've started doing, and I love this. If you see old pictures, canvas paintings, not original paintings, but these things that are mass produced that maybe have pretty images, and they end up in the thrift stores, maybe part of it is warped where it was stored incorrectly, and you think, well, what can be done with that? I have started cutting them out of the frames. Then I donate the frames back to reuse centers. But this material, this canvas, is just so neat to use in journals for pages or tabs or whatever. And this came from one of those. This is a big rose from some fabric I have. This is a little pocket made from a very big Victorian stand-up sort of diorama. It had a mom and some children, but then this was on the sides, and I used it to make a pocket. No, she does not look like she should be in a garden, but look at the peeling wallpaper in the back. Isn't it gorgeous? I fell in love with that, and I had to put it in the book. It's, you know, it just ties in with my thoughts about this month and how vibrant it is. And I don't know, the birds get out and they fight over nesting areas and mates, and it's just a really passionate time of year. There she is again. You can see the wallpaper better. Isn't that beautiful? I love it. And this is from a book that I have that's all about fashion. This is an actual sample piece of wallpaper. I love this large pink bloom and then the contrasting black there. There's a pocket on this side. There's some mushrooms. And this little card, I'll take it out because I like the way it turned out. This is an old library card, a card catalog card that says Nature and Poetry. It's from Shakespeare's Observation of Nature, 1924. But on the back, I had taken one of my stamps. It was a pansy stamp. And I dipped it in, or actually sprayed it with some ink. And at first I thought it was going to be just a horrible failure because the ink seemed to be pooling up. But as it dried and it almost seemed to evaporate a little bit, it did leave the tracing of the pansies. And I thought, well, I like it enough to put it in here. And it was a good experiment. There's just the little word garden stamped on a very faded piece of some kind of trim. That was a really heavy canvas trim. More dyed paper. Oh, there we go. The Lusty Month of May. That says it all. And there's a very vintage art print. Here's another vintage image that I have printed onto some heavy cardstock. That was actually a manila folder. I like to print on that. It's not the stark white, but it's also light enough that the colors show up well. There's some more floral fabric and a pretty shiny lace trim and a little tab. This is from a local plant book. It's vintage. It's about what to plant in this area. This particular page was about vines. And then there's just a really pretty piece of fancy paper. I don't know what that is, stuck to the page. A piece of lint. And a pretty piece of lace. There is another pocket from that canvas. I love it. I'm on a mission now. I used to see these paintings, and again, not original paintings, but these mass-produced beautiful botanical images or just whatever. And I would think, oh, what a waste, because it looked like it had been stored where something was against the canvas. So it ended up warped or with this big dent in it. But now I know that they can be cut up and used like this. There's another very old botanical image. I wanted some black in this because, again, I'm going for, I wouldn't call it a dark side. I'm calling it a passionate side. There's a pretty little mosaic birdhouse and a page from a vintage book about drawing trees. There's a beautiful book page with tile, and the other side, oh my gosh, isn't that beautiful? How would you like to have that in a garden? I would. And then there's another page of wallpaper sample, shiny, and it's got the beautiful pink flower. This page, I have stamped the words Spring Fever, and I had to put this trim in. It reminded me of like a bamboo fence, or a, what do they call it, a wattle fence with the sticks. It's a kind of stiff trim, and I had to put that in. There's another tab from the canvas. This is actually part of a page from the most recent, oh, was it the most recent? Maybe Daphne's Diary. And it's just got a few little tasks in here. Look for a natural object with 2 colors. Pick 10 blades of grass. Find a tree with light green leaves and pick 1. Pick 5 different types of flowers. There is a page that was dyed with a half-hearted attempt at stamping. It looks kind of faded. And there's some pretty, very vintage trim. That was in an old pack that was 19 cents at original price. And there are some birdhouses on a pretty table. Another book page. And that has got a sculpture made of twigs. You can only see part of it on this side. I will try to remember to put a link in to an artist who makes wonderful structures out of twigs. And part of the twigs are living trees that he makes use of, and the other part is just woven in. They're amazing. We had one locally that was a house. I mean, you could really go into it, and it was enormous. Had these beautiful windows in it. Maybe I can find a picture of that and insert it here so you can see how massive it was and how beautiful. There is part of a wallpaper sample, 2 pieces sewn together, and I just left that just like it is. And here is an old part of a pillowcase, and this fabric is wonderful. It's great for stamping on, so don't just cut this part out and throw this away. Save it and stamp on it. And look at that embroidered flower. And then there's more dyed fabric. I love the way it looks like hands reaching down, or vines or roots. Just really pretty. There's another part of that canvas. I knew that there's a reason I fell in love with this one. It's Susan Wingate, who's quickly becoming one of my favorite artists as I come across more and more for things. That's a pretty picture. It looks like some succulents. I have a planter similar to that out in my garden. And look at this. Look at that staircase right in the middle of what? I guess it's just in the middle of a garden. And it goes up and around, and it looks like there's a type of walkway through the rose vines and trees. There's a vintage leaf, velvet, and there's the other parts of those planters. Mine are a little more corrugated appearing. These look really smooth, and mine are rusty, but very similar. They're varying heights, and they all have different types of sedum. Some sheer ribbon and more dyed pages. Another light stamping of a botanical. There's another part of that sculpture. I think this is a person standing. And more trim. Oh, that's so pretty. I love moss. That's one of my favorite things. And that looks kind of, I don't know if that's a kind of moss or just another covering. It might say. Not sure. Looks like that's in England. I stamped the words cottage garden here on this index card. And there's the rest of that to-do list for your garden. Pretty image from Daphne's Diary. And there's a stamp again, a botanical. There's the word bloom. Here's a little pocket. You can use that for storing something. There's the other part of the tile page. More tile. And there is a bookmark made out of some really bright green. It looks like some type of felt, but it wasn't cut out of a big piece of felt. I had a whole, like a small spool of this. There's a little bird hiding in there. Oh, you know what's fun? Is it this page? No, it's on the other one, I think. Where are you? Oh. Maybe it's not this one either. Oh, it is on this one. I put my little birds in the trees. There were already some birds there, but I had to add my own little stamp. So sweet. There's more of that beautiful paper. And today I was thinking I need another postcard for this one, or I felt like I did, and I didn't have anything on hand. So I went out during lunch and came across this wonderful book of postcards. This one is from an art piece or a print from 1900. Alphonse, I guess that's pronounced Mucha, I'm not sure, but this one's called May. I mean, how fortuitous that I found this today. She is beautiful. She's holding a bird. So that's going in here to whoever gets this journal. This is a pretty, pretty journal. I almost can't let it go, but I start feeling that way about all of them. I love these clips, but sometimes they're hard to get on. I'm always worried they leave marks on the pages, but to me that just adds to the beauty of it. I just don't want to tear any pages. But you know what? With these journals, if that happens too, you just mend it and go on with the program, because to me that's part of what this is all about. Now we're coming to one of my favorite pages. These are some lines from the song by Jolie Holland, Springtime Can Kill You. And it says, roses are all blooming, lilacs all aglow, honeysuckle vine, shine, shine, get out of your house. And I've just stamped Jolie here. I'll put a link to that song. You should look her up. I just love her. And there's a fun page. This is actually little pieces of confetti from a recent real life garden party I went to, and it was so much fun. There were a lot of ladies there. No men allowed except the husband of the house, who was there to help if we needed help. He actually ended up getting his electric guitar out and playing some songs to some backing tracks, and so we had kind of a live show as well. We could hear him mostly, so he was very unobtrusive, but we enjoyed the music. So here's just a stamped image, and this doesn't necessarily tie in as far as gardening attire. Once again, we have a girl who doesn't look like she's going into the garden, but I think she's gone May crazy. I'm pretending like she's decided she's going to join the circus. It's beautiful outside, it's springtime, there are the roses, and she's got her clothes on, and her parents are not happy at all, but she's going anyway. She's going on the road for some excitement and to live her life. And there are the legs of that model. Another pretty piece of lace. There's a tiny little teacup here. Who likes to have coffee or tea in the garden? This is from an herbal book that I have. And let's see, was this page? I don't remember if this page was from May. Maybe, but it might have a little bit of information. I think this was about making your own vinegars. And there's the other part of that pocket. Maybe I'll come up with some sweet thing to go in there before I send this, or I might leave it for you. Oh, now look at this. I think this is from maybe a bridal veil, or a veil that has the long train on it. And I couldn't resist. May, of course, is a month of love and so many weddings. Of course, June is the same way, but I had to put that in. And there's just a pretty flower box, a lady sitting under the trees and the grass. It's kind of an impressionistic painting. And some more garden statuary with another piece of that beautiful, beautiful lace. And there you can see the other half of those jars I was talking about. And you can see the leg from that statue that was probably used for acupuncture. See the lines on it? And then you can see that huge plant. Meridians, I guess, or the nerve, the distributions. And then on the back here we have a vintage page from a 1950s insect book. I love the pink on this one and the black. So even though that's a moth, I had to go with that one. Moths can be kind of creepy in a way. This one had some orange, but I decided to go rogue with this one and put it in because of the black cat. Cats love gardens. If there's a garden around that's full of plants and birds, they will find it. I had several neighborhood cats through the years to show up in my garden and have babies there. How sweet. They felt comfortable there, I guess, but my cottage garden was very, very full and very, very lush, and a cat could hide there, really, and have food. So, and water, because I had water close by. So, anyway, we took care of several litters of kittens through the years. And then we're back to the back. I love this journal. I'm not sure if I want to call it the Lusty Month of May or Springtime Can Kill You, but maybe we can call it both. Anyway, that's it, and thank you so much for stopping in and checking this out. It's time to start on another journal. So I'll see you next time. Bye.